I was 20 when I got engaged, young by the world standards, but in love with the kind of certainty that makes you ignore all red flags and silent warnings. We didn't have much, but we had each other. That felt like enough. When he proposed, it wasn't over candlelight or on a beach. It was simple, honest. We were in a beat-up car parked under a failing streetlight, and I said yes before he even finished asking. That moment still plays in my head like a scene from an old VHS tape. Grainy, warm, already fading. We chose Halloween as our wedding date. It felt different, symbolic. We thought love was about creating our own traditions, not fitting into someone else's. Everyone got a year's notice. Everyone nodded in approval, including her, Lacey. She'd been my friend since middle school. We weren't soulmates, but she'd seen me cry over my first heartbreak and had once punched a guy for making fun of my thrift store backpack. That felt like loyalty. That felt like family. I picked her as one of my bridesmaids, along with my sister, my cousin, and two other girls who had walked through different seasons of my life. We picked out fabric, chose a design, custom dresses, deposits made. Everything was coming together. Or so I thought. 3 months before the wedding, Lacey invited my fiancé and me to join her and her husband at a man-made lake nearby. I remember hesitating. Something about it felt off. Maybe because we hadn't hung out with them like that before. Maybe because I had 1,000 other wedding tasks I was juggling. But I said yes. The weather was beautiful that day. The sun was sharp and hot, the sky cloudless. We brought homemade sandwiches, sunscreen, and bottled water. It was supposed to be a small joy in the chaos of wedding planning. They had a boat and a jet ski tied to the side. Her husband, a quiet man with sun-wrinkled eyes, asked Lacey if she had put the protective bumper between the boat and the jet ski. "I didn't. It'll be fine," she said, casually brushing him off like he was a mosquito. We ate lunch floating on the water. My fiancé, who couldn't swim, kept his life jacket on and stayed quiet, watching everyone else with a kind of careful admiration. He was like that, gentle, quiet, unsure of his place in loud crowds. After lunch, we drifted toward the swimming area. The boat's depth finder started going haywire, flashing warnings that the lake was 900 feet deep. It was obviously malfunctioning, but it made everyone uneasy. Then the boat started taking on water. At first, it was subtle, a slosh, a dip, but within minutes we were moving strangely, tilted, heavy. When we climbed back in from the water, panic set in. The back of the boat was nearly submerged. They called the Rangers for help. Her husband left to go get the trailer. Lacey and I left with the Ranger to get our other vehicle. We left him behind, my fiancé, on a sinking boat, alone, with no swimming ability, no shade, no food, and no help, just a single plastic bucket to scoop water out with, 1 gallon. That's it. That was his weapon against gravity and ignorance. When we returned nearly an hour later, he was ghost white, shaking, lips cracked from the heat. I remember asking why no one stayed with him. No one answered. We finally got the boat on the trailer and pulled it from the lake. Then we did the thing we always did. We apologized, even though it wasn't our fault, even though she had ignored her own husband's warning. We took them to dinner to say sorry. We tried to be kind. A week before the wedding, Lacey texted me, "I'm out. No apology, no empathy, just out." Her reason? "It's selfish of you to have your wedding on Halloween. That's the biggest party night of the year. I spent $300 on costumes." I stared at the message for a long time. She had known the date for a year. She had paid for a dress. We had laughed together over cake samples. She had helped me pick centerpieces. And not costumes were more important? I tried to shake it off. Then, the day before the wedding, during the rehearsal, my mother pulled me aside. She got a letter. So did I. It was from Lacey. Handwritten. 4 pages of venom. She said we were poor, uneducated, delusional, that we'd never own a house, never build careers, never raise decent children, that our marriage would fail in less than 5 years, that we were wasting everyone's time playing dress-up for a life we'd never be able to keep. At the bottom of the envelope was an invoice. She wanted us to pay for the boat damage because, she said, my fiancé didn't bail fast enough, didn't try hard enough, didn't care enough. I remember feeling cold all over, my stomach hollowed. My heart dropped like a dying bird. We got married anyway. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even joyous, but we did it. We moved into a tiny apartment, had a baby a year later, then another. We struggled with money, with long hours, with stress, with grief. We fought too often, cried in silence too often, slept back-to-back more nights than I care to remember. We separated after 10 years. Quietly, without courtrooms or yelling, just pauper work. The kids stayed with me. He moved 2 states away and rarely visited. The last time he came for Christmas was 6 years ago. The last time he called was over a year ago. I worked a string of part-time jobs. I'd never made it to grad school. I rented cheap houses. I used duct tape on windows during the winter. Every time life got hard, that letter echoed in my head. This past December, I spent Christmas alone. One of my kids was traveling, one was estranged, one was too busy. I had a microwave dinner and watched movies I used to love, but they didn't feel the same anymore. The next day, my brother stopped by and mentioned someone had come by asking for me. Some woman said she used to know you. Lacey, I think. I didn't react at first. Then I stepped outside. There she was. Her skin was papery and pale. Her clothes were too big. Her teeth were ruined. Her eyes, once alive with mischief, now looked hollowed out by years she didn't talk about. We spoke briefly. She asked about my kids. I lied and said they were doing well. She smiled at me, a soft, pitying smile. And then she said it. You know, I didn't mean everything I wrote in that letter, but I guess some of it turned out true, huh? That was her apology. Not sorry, not regretful, just right. I didn't cry until after she left, and when I did, it wasn't loud, it wasn't angry. It was just the sound of something in me crumbling for good. That night, I went to the closet and found the old shoebox. The letter was still there, folded and worn at the edges, the ink smudged from old tears. The envelope still smelled faintly like lake water and perfume. I burned it, but it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like giving up. Maybe she was wrong to say it. Maybe she was cruel. But in the end, she saw something in me that I refused to see in myself. That not all dreams survive. Some rot slowly. One unpaid bill, one goodbye, one broken vow at a time. And maybe some of us were never meant to win this game of life.